When I started my experiment, I thought 4 broken bird brains who will believe everything I tell them. This will be a breeze. You beat me in 3 months. Okay, fine, I thought. A fluke. You then beat me 800 more times. Because human beings, it turns out, are weird. And I will never truly understand what it's like to be one. This is a job for a human. One who's tough, but also empathetic, and has a big heart, and a world-class bullshit detector. You think you can't do this? Eleanor, you're the only one who can do this. Like it or not, the only one who can save humanity is a girl from Arizona.
But everything I do blows up in my face. I'm like a hot, blonde, wily coyote.
That's true. About you making lots of mistakes, not the thing where you sexualize the cartoon.
After what feels like 1,000-year slumber, finally, the time knife is awoken. We're back. We're here. It's time.
That was me awakening from my 1,000-year slumber.
Yes, we haven't recorded an episode of The Good Place in so long because Steven's just been so sweepy. It's been a long time. I'm really excited. I'm jazzed. I'm rejuvenated. We took a long break over the holidays, just dropping stuff when we can. And it's been a long time since we've talked about The Good Place. I don't know how long it's been since we recorded the first half of the episode we're about to talk about. At least a month, right?
Has it been it's been at least a few weeks. I think it's been a calendar
month.
It's
since
been a long
recorded.
time.
I can tell you here in a second. I'll fact check it.
It's
Catch
been a
the people
while.
up to speed for a second while I fact check us.
Yeah, I was a sicky boy for a while.
Me too.
I was down for the count. I couldn't record, and it was sad. I just had to sit and look through my Zach photo album. Missed him dearly. But the holidays passed. It's been a good time. I am proud to announce to the world, because I don't think I had done this yet, that I did hit the time skip in One Piece. And then I was also sick and at home, so I finished the Fishman Island arc, which is the first arc of the second half of the show. So, yeehaw!
According to my calculations, the episode of The Good Place that we last talked about, the first half of A Girl from Arizona, we recorded that on December 4th.
Damn!
So almost a full month. That's
Holy
crazy.
Shit.
But we're back, and I'm revitalized. I'm rejuvenated. I got most of the mucus out of my body. There's still some mucus pouring out of my body. But
If
it's
I
a
have
new
anything to say
year.
about it, there will
The
be.
holidays are behind us, and now we can finally look forward into what I think, I know is going to be a really big year for Into the Time Knife, because it's the year that we wrap this bad boy up.
Yeah, we were not done wrapping our gifts yet, because we've got to put a bow and stick-on nameplate on the side of this bad boy. Stick under the tree, shake it around a little bit. As soon as you're like, hey, is that one for me? I'm like, oh, no,
You're losing me.
no.
You had me. You lost me. Everybody, I'm so glad you've joined us. Thank you for coming back to hang out with us here on Into the Time Knife. I'm Zach, and I hope you join me for this podcast. I hope you shower first, but I hope you join me.
And I'm Squirtman, a.k.a. Steven.
Is that from the episode?
Squirtman is mentioned.
I don't remember a squirt, man. Do you remember the context?
Yeah, Brett's like asking when he's like, "Oh, I should be in a better
all of
place."
his
Like,
bros.
where's this
Where are my
guy?
guys?
Where's
Okay.
Squirtman?
Shaking off the rust a little.
Did you even see what we're talking about this week, Zach? Did you watch the right episode?
Well, before we can talk about what we watched this week, and before we can answer these questions, we've got to shout out our $10 and up patrons over at patreon.com/KNIFE. Can't Disappoint podcast. Those people, of course, are Mary Baker Budisa, Danny M. Lugo, Justin Fortier, Lil S. Haker, and Autumn Marsh.
The gang's all here.
The gang's
Chip,
all here.
Napkin.
Thank you to them and all of our other patrons over at patreon.com/Can't Disappoint podcast. Go check it out and see all the stuff we're doing there every single week. 2024 is in full session, so you're going to get the basement back. You're going to get all kinds of stuff over on the Patreon this year. It's a good time to sign up.
There's more than coal in our stocking.
Steven, it's been a while. I'm sure we've both done a lot. We've both seen a lot. We've both lived a lot in the calendar month since we've last truly recorded an episode of Into the Time Knife. And I feel like whenever it's time for us to record and start talking about those things, I just draw a blank.
Yeah, I'll do stuff, and this is not because I think highly of you, or I like you, or
like
I
I've gotta
genuinely
tell Zach
want to
about
share
this.
stuff.
This is content.
It's
What's happening to me right now is
monetary.
Content. Yes.
But sometimes like, oh, I'm excited to talk to Zach about this thing.
It's gone.
And, well, I have one thing that I have to talk to you about, Zach, because when this happened, I was like, Zach is going to eat this shit up.
Yes. Daddy's hungry.
Because this is exactly the type of anime bullshit.
Oh, lost me. I'm out.
Yeah, I know, you're gone.
I'm out.
But I'll bring you back in.
To quote the Naked Brothers Band hit song, I'm out.
In the hit, the Breakout 2023 anime, the 100 girlfriends that really, 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 really love you. I had talked to you a little bit about this show, Zach. The guy was like, the god of love fucked up. He has 100 soulmates. If he doesn't date them, they'll die. And so when he meets them,
Good Place adjacent, kind of, the
right?
soulmate thing.
Exactly. So one of his soulmates is one of his girlfriend's fucking mom, and it's like a whole fucking thing because the girl's like, "What the fuck? That's like weird," and the mom's like, "Oh well, but it's okay because when the mom was 13." Her one true love was terminally ill, so she had the doctors steal some of his spunk and then artificially inseminate her so she could give birth to a baby.
This is a classy podcast. Don't say spunk. 6 minutes in, we're talking spunk.
So she's only 13 years older than a 16-year-old boy, so it's not that bad that they kissed, right?
Yeah, but we weren't talking kiss.
Well,
you said spunk.
No. When she was 13, she got the spunk. She's currently dating her 16-year-old daughter's 16-year-old boyfriend.
That's not different from what I thought. That's...
Yeah. So what's worse, that or Jennifer Lawrence agreeing to fuck a 19-year-old for a Buick?
But if we're just looking numbers, 13 versus 19 is a world of difference.
Well, he's 16. And she's 29.
I want to be surprised that this is the one thing over a month that you thought I would be interested in. I want to be surprised, but I'm not. It just sounds about right. That's just how it goes.
I watched like 4 movies and like over 150 episodes of anime, but the thing I want to talk about are the 2 episodes where the 16-year-old
13-year-old
gets
spunk?
to date a mom.
Or 16-year-old spunk?
Well, it's 13-year-old spunk that made the now 16-year-old whose boyfriend is dating her mom. So it's a no for you on the 100 girlfriends
Hi,
that really,
everybody.
really, really, really,
Welcome
really love you.
to the show. Why don't we just get in and talk about The Good Place? What do you think?
Did that kill your buzz of all your exciting news?
Yeah, my boner's gone. I got to get it back up.
Or you just want to rush through
this
so you can go watch it?
Yeah, I've got to check this out. Today we're talking about Season 4, Episode 2 of The Good Place. It's Chapter 41, A Girl from Arizona, Part 2. Finally, after many weeks, we're following up on Part 1 and getting all the way into Part 2 of A Girl from Arizona. I said this before we started recording to you. I think of all The Good Place 2-parters to take a break between Parts 1 and 2. This one is the most that feels like 2 separate episodes. This works totally fine as one episode, I think.
Totally.
This episode was directed by for the last time in the series, Drew Goddard. He directed the series premiere, Everything
From
is
Jimmy
Fine.
Neutron? I think I've
Yes,
made that
the
joke
dog
before.
from Jimmy Neutron. He did the first episode, he did Dance Dance Resolution, and he did both parts of A Girl from Arizona. That's a really good showing for only doing a few episodes of the show. And as we're seeing some of these names for the last time, I want to talk about what they'll go on to do. He directed a film in 2018 that I wanted to see. He also wrote it. I wanted to see this movie. I have not seen this movie. It's called Bad Times at the El Royale. Do you hear about this movie?
I heard of that, yeah.
He wrote and directed this movie, and it's got a great stacked, what's the word?
Cast?
Ensemble cast.
Ooh.
No, I wasn't forgetting the word cast. It has Jeff
Actors.
Bridges. It has Cynthia Erivo. It has Dakota
Ooh.
Johnson. It has John Hamm. It has Chris Hemsworth
Nice.
and tons of other people. Maybe it's something I should check out. But that's the big thing, the
star-studded
big calling
cast.
card on Drew Goddard's history since leaving The Good Place as it ended in 2019, 2020. And the episode was co-written by Andrew Law and Cassia Miller, who are both getting their final credit here on The Good Place. Andrew Law previously wrote What's My Motivation, Existential Crisis, Don't Let the Good Life Pass You By, and Part 1 of A Girl from Arizona with Cassia Miller. After The Good Place, Andrew Law went on to write a great episode of Season 2 of Aquafina is Nora from Queens on Comedy
Nice.
Central. I know you're not big on Aquafina, so every
I don't
time
hate
I've-
Aquafina.
But you don't love her.
I don't know how I feel. I feel like
Right.
I'm supposed to not like her, but I find her charming.
The
But I
way
feel like I'm
that
not
you
supposed to
feel
like her.
about her, I think, has kept you from really thinking about checking out Aquafina is Nora from
Mm-hmm.
Queens. One reason that you should check it out is because one of the funniest supporting characters is played by Bowen Yang, who is hilarious
I like
in this
Bowen
show.
Yang.
And the episode of that show that Andrew Law wrote is an episode that focuses on Bowen Yang's character Edmund, and he's so funny, and that episode's really funny. So I
got
would
into
recommend
an
that
argument
show
with my
just to see
mom
some
over
Bowen Yang.
about Bowen Yang.
Why?
We were watching SNL, and I said I like Bowen Yang. And she's like, well, I feel like he always plays the same character on SNL. And I said, it's not his fault. He doesn't write
so
every
many
skit.
people, but that's so many people.
Yeah.
You know, so many people in SNL just like I think
Mhm.
of like Mikey Day always kind of
Yeah,
plays the
Mikey
same
Day's
guy.
always the same
Beck
thing.
Bennett always kind of played the same guy, but
Mhm.
they're good at it.
Yeah.
Kyle Mooney, I like Kyle Mooney. a
I'm
lot.
pro Bowen. Kyle Mooney was just in a movie I saw.
Which one was he in? No Hard Feelings.
Yeah. He played the
It's been a second
nanny.
since I've seen it. I forgot. Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, he was funny.
That has like a weird close relationship with the boy. Yeah, I remember that. One of my favorite podcasts, I've said it before, is Office Hours with Tim Heidecker. And for their Christmas episode, Kyle Mooney was the guest. And they just had this hilarious back and forth. It
I bet that
made me
was
laugh
funny.
so hard. It was really funny. Also, Andrew Law, outside of that episode, he wrote 2 episodes of season 1 of a show called Hacks. Season 1 and season 2, he wrote episodes of Hacks. I haven't watched it, but I know that's a show that people like and talk
Yeah.
about. Meanwhile, Cassia Miller, this is her last writing credit. She previously wrote A Fractured Inheritance, which was a great
Nice.
season 3 episode, and co-wrote A Girl from Arizona, part 1 with Andrew Law. Outside of The Good Place, since The Good Place, she wrote 1 episode of the Peacock MacGruber show,
Hell yeah.
1
I haven't watched
episode
it,
of
but I like the skit.
The After Party. Have you heard about The After Party?
I have
I think
heard
it's
of The
Apple
After
TV.
Party.
Sam Richardson's in it.
Mhm.
It seems like a really funny show. I think Ken Jeong's in it as well.
Oh, cool.
And most importantly, she wrote 1 episode of Pitch Perfect: Bumper in Berlin.
Bumper in Berlin. Saw a lot of ads for that show.
Yes, I remember last year Adam Devine and Flula Borg were on a Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade float to advertise it. And Sarah Hyland, I think she was in that show too.
Yeah, nice. Modern Family reunion for the 2 of them.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
This episode of The Good Place
Deep cut.
originally aired on October 3rd, 2019. So we're going to go
Ooh.
back to 2019 and talk about the number 1 movie and the number 1 album on October 3rd, 2019. First, we'll talk about the number 1 movie. This is a DreamWorks film that is
Prince of
lower
Egypt.
on the list. 2019 is the year.
Joseph,
number
King of
1 movie.
Dreams.
It's a number 1 movie, and it's pretty low on the list of recognizable DreamWorks film.
Mm.
And let's think of a cold atmosphere.
Is it an Ice Age movie?
No. I said one of the less recognizable DreamWorks
Bad
films.
Guys? Was that DreamWorks?
No, that has nothing to do with cold. It
It
was DreamWorks, though, I think.
The Good Dinosaur? That was
No,
Pixar.
that's Pixar. I'm going to stop you. I didn't give a good hint, but I don't really know how to give a better hint. I don't know if you know this movie. It's called Abominable.
Zendaya was in this movie. That's the only reason I know it exists.
That's a different one, actually.
No fucking way.
I think several studios have done like Yeti ice monster movies because this one stars Eddie Izzard, Sarah Paulson, Chloe Bennett, and Albert Sy.
Chloe Bennett, she from is she on SNL?
Couldn't tell you. I don't think so.
Do you say Psy like Gangnam Style?
TSAI, Albert Sy.
Oh, I thought just Psy, like
yes,
Gangnam
Albert
Style.
Psy.
So Eddie Izzard's the big pull then here.
Let me Google Abominable, and I'm gonna give you like a tagline.
I don't think this movie was number 1 in the nation.
After discovering a Yeti on the roof of her apartment building, teenage Yi and her 2 friends embark on an epic quest to reunite the magical creature with his family. So it is kind of like Ice Age. But to do so, they must stay one step ahead of a wealthy financier and a determined zoologist who want to capture the beast for their own gain. That's Abominable.
Ooh.
So you don't know this movie at all, do you?
Not even I've never heard of this existence.
So you're just totally going off the seat of your pants to think about
I'm going to trust the heart of the cards here.
This movie. What do you think Rotten Tomatoes, the critics over Rotten Tomatoes, gave Abominable, the number one movie of October 3rd,
if it was number 1 in the nation, I bet the critics, they were like, ooh, I'm going to stick it to Big Disney. So I'm going to bump
Disney.
Up. I know, they're sticking
DreamWorks.
it, so they're going to bump up the DreamWorks
Okay.
play. So I'm going to give it a 53%.
It is higher.
Whoa, are they sitting at a 64?
This movie has a surprisingly high Rotten Tomatoes critic rating of 82%.
Holy fuck. That's really high.
So with that in mind,
now, does it have like 4 reviews?
Well, it was the number 1 movie in the nation, Steven.
Sure.
What do you think the audience over Rotten Tomatoes thought of Abominable based on the 82 critics?
76?
Steven, I will tell you the audience score for Abominable is higher than the critic score of 82%.
Is it an 84?
It is 95%.
What the fuck? Do we need to watch Abominable?
That's what I thought exactly when I took these notes and wrote this down. I was like, Abominable, what's that? Then I looked up this, was like, shit, do I need to watch Abominable? Let's go over to Letterboxd to see if they say we should watch Abominable. 82 critics, 95 audience of the Rotten Tomatoes. What do you think Letterboxd is at? It's out of 100 at a percentage.
4.1?
It's out of 100 at a percentage.
82?
It is a meager score compared to the 82 and 95
so
on Rotten Tomatoes.
Maybe they're sitting at like a 58?
It's a little bit higher at 64%, which is about what I would think of a movie like this.
Yeah. Wonder why Rotten
95, 82 over Rotten Tomatoes. Do we need to watch Abominable?
Maybe.
Let us know if you've seen Abominable.
Yeah,
if we should watch
write
it.
us. The Abominable film community. Please give us your deets. Tell us if we should watch this.
The number 1 album this week was an album we've talked about before. If you remember, Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone. We've talked about this album before. So we're going to talk about the number 2 album. This is an album by a folk pop rock band that had a few hits that isn't Mumford and Sons, but if you squinted, you could be confused that they were.
We got some
Mumford
Lumineers action on here.
The Lumineers.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what their 2019 album would be called?
Well, it's not Ho Hey. Hey Ho?
No, it's 3 in a Roman numeral. 3 by the Lumineers.
Are the Lumineers really bad?
The hit song on this album was Gloria. Gloria. I kind of know this song. I know how they sing the word Gloria, and that's it.
I like a lot of music, Zach, and I listen to music that most people would say is not like pleasing to. Like I listen to like breakbeat. I'll throw on some jungle shit sometimes.
Okay,
you know, I think the Lumineers are not great. And Mumford and Sons has some redeeming qualities.
No, I think I don't like either band, but I think I'd be more interested in the Lumineers than Mumford and Sons personally. But I'm not very interested in either of them.
I saw a video, Zach, that
Ophelia, you've been on my mind, girl, since the flood. Was that the Lumineers?
Fun. That might be Mumford and Sons. I don't know.
Well,
wait, are Mumford and Sons? Hey, brother.
Yeah,
Is that
but I'm more
I
know
don't
Little
like that.
Lion Man.
Yeah. I've been trying to ba-ba-da. Boom. Oh no, that's Ho
Okay.
Hey, isn't it? I've been
No,
loving
that's
you.
now we're back to the Lumineers, who had the number 2 album this week, 3,
Oh, I do like that song. It's fine.
with lead
I don't
single
like that song.
Gloria. We're going to talk about
Gloria.
Metacritic and Rate Your Music. Metacritic gave this album a score out of 100. You might think the Lumineers are bad. Do you think Metacritic agrees with you?
No, I think Metacritic might like them more than I do.
By how much out of 100?
60 even.
It's higher.
Ooh. 65.
We're talking
Even.
a 72 out of 100 for 3
Wow,
by the
maybe
Lumineers.
I need to check out Roman numeral 3 by the Lumineers and see if I like
After
it.
you check out Abominable.
Yeah, that's next on the list.
Rate Your Music, I translated it to out of 100. This is the letterboxed of music. They can be a little snobbier. Do you think they're more on your side of the fence with the Lumineers,
Yes.
or are they closer to the 72 Metacritic?
As a snobby person myself, I'm going to say that Rate Your Music gave it a crisp 50
It's
point.
higher.
Ooh. Higher than the Metacritic score?
No.
63?
60% even
Oh, that's
On
what I
the
said for
Lumineers.
the first one.
for Abominable,
Fuck.
I think.
No,
think
I
you
said it
that
just
for
now for-
Abominable.
Oh, did I?
I don't know. Who could tell? We just did the segment. It's done.
keeps
I already
track?
forgot it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So let's
So
dive
check
a little
out
deeper
Abominable and maybe
into
Roman
our
numeral 3
discussion
by the Lumineers.
of 3
When
by
you
the
have a
Lumineers.
chance.
Of A Girl from Arizona Part 2, starting with one of my favorite segments that we do here every week. He's had a long break from having to do this. It's time to find out. For A Girl from Arizona Part 2, did Steven watch the episode this week?
Hey, that worked out syllable-wise. That tells me there's too many syllables in that chorus.
How are you feeling about Part 2? Do you think you're going to be able to tell me everything I crave out of a 20-second recap?
So I watched this episode a month ago. Twice.
Yeah, same.
Because I was like sick and
Yes.
and it was all a blur.
We were going
then I
to
watched
record. It
it-
didn't happen.
yeah.
That's when we recorded the Christmas special.
And then we were going to record again.
Yes.
And I was
also
and I
didn't
was
happen.
even more sick. I just kept getting progressively sicker until
Of
like
me.
Christmas, and then it started getting slightly better. And then I watched it again today, and it was kind of like a fever dream where I was like watching the episode, and I knew everything that was happening and that was about to happen.
Did it make you
but
feel
I don't
sick
know if I
again?
could tell you anything about.
Wow.
I feel something coming on. Oh,
We gotta cancel. Can't record.
Sorry, gotta cut the cord. Cut the cord.
Well, before we cut the cord, you've got 20 seconds on the clock. Are you ready, Steven?
Yes, I think I'm gonna go for it, Zach. I have no
Okay.
idea what this is gonna be like, but we're gonna go for it.
Let's see. Okay, on go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Chidi is now the 4th member of the experiment, and Eleanor doesn't like it. She's kind of freaking out about things, but they know they've got to get Brett to be a better person. So they make him know that he doesn't belong there by restaging the chaos sequence, but he thinks that, yeah, I don't belong, I belong somewhere better. So they convince him that he does. Then Eleanor gets ragged on by the gang because she's not doing a good job.
Stop.
Janet breaks up with Jason.
No.
I didn't get that. Yeah.
You spent way too much time on the Brett thing. I would have rather
thing
you
I remember
spent
the most.
that much time on the gang being anti-Eleanor. I would have liked something about like Michael and Eleanor's third act kind of thing. You did not get Janet breaks up with Jason, and even if you had, that was a tagged on
Yeah.
mention. I think that was pretty poor of a showing for the first time back in a month. How bad do I think it was? I think that was in the C range, and I don't know, man. I think I'm going to give you a C minus.
Okay, I think that's fair. I agree it's in the C range, somewhere in that spectrum.
Doesn't matter if you agree or not. That's what you get. Let's move on to some trivia. I've only got 6 questions for you this week.
Whoa!
You got like 25.
Well, I originally had like 8, but now I've upped it a little
That's
bit.
not enough. That's plenty. 8 would have been plenty.
What's the show? 8 is enough? Isn't that a show?
Don't know.
I'm sure
John
there
and
was a
Kate
show
plus
called
8 is enough.
Yeah, guys, come on. Comment down below. Smack that fucking.
How
punch
many is
that
enough?
goddamn
Let us know. Should we watch
notification.
Abominable? How many is enough? What's John and Kate up to?
Charles in Charge? All right, well, I'll go first.
I know that one.
Where was Brent born?
On third base.
Yes,
Is that what you're
I would
looking
have
for?
also accepted one other answer, but I wrote on third base originally, and then he like says some shit later on.
What does
But
he
yes,
say
on
later?
third
What's the
base.
other answer?
He grew up in Chicago.
Oh. Yeah, that part I wouldn't have gotten.
Also,
but
what the fuck does that mean? He was born on third base. I understand sports. I've got no fucking clue what that means. Nobody says that. Nobody's like, oh, I
don't
love
know.
baseball. I was born on third base.
I can just feel like in one conversation, someone being like, this person stole third, and him being like, third, I was born on third.
Who's on third?
It's kind of dumb. I figured it would make perfect sense because it's a sports thing, and I don't
nobody
get it.
says
So
that'd be like
pretended.
Zach me saying, I was born at the 10-yard line at like a football thing. Nobody says that. I
don't know the way you're saying it though. It kind of sounds like I was born ready type.
Well,
brag.
but like so you've heard like, oh, he was born with a mic in his hand, or he was born on the dance floor.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
both of those.
Both of those. Yeah. I don't know. I think that was written by somebody who thinks, he's a sports guy. He would say this.
It was written by someone like me who doesn't really know. My first question for you: whom saved all the ducks? What's her name?
Carol?
Nope. Try different end of the alphabet, about the same number from beginning or end.
Veronica.
No, it's Wanda.
Oh, shit. I counted wrong. I couldn't think of any W names.
Well, I think it would be X if we were going A to B, because
Sure.
A, B, C, Z, Y,
So I
X.
overshot by 2.
Yeah, xylophone.
Xenon.
All right, well, you overshot, but go ahead and keep shooting all over me.
Hey, yo. How many generations of Princeton man are in Brent's family?
I earned my spot, like my father and his father before me. So 3? He's the third?
You got it.
Okay.
He is a third generation Princeton man. You're 2 for 2, Zach.
What does Michael say Jason thinks every problem can be solved by?
Throwing a Molotov cocktail at it and doing Molly?
No. There's 2 more. And you've got neither of them?
No.
Molotov cocktail and slashing tires or plunging Derek.
Plunging Derek.
Mm-hmm.
How much did Brent buy Netflix stock for?
That's a good question. And I don't know if I'm going to pull it out. I don't know how low it was. My 2 guesses are either in like the $12 range or in like the $30 range, but I'm going to...
One of those is...
Right?
One of those is the right range.
$32.
38.
Okay.
You're clear.
But I went with the right side.
Yeah, you went with the right side.
It's been so long that I forgot to mention this, and I've already, before this, I had like a 2 or 3 week run of getting every trivia question right.
You did really well.
That has ended with that question, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I'm still proud of you, Zach.
Thank you. That was a good run. That was like my best run of the entire series.
There was one episode where you got
like 12 questions, and some of them were hard.
And I heard Danny listen to that episode, and it was very impressive. I was proud of you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. My next question for you, what are the names of Brent's guys?
And you didn't even fucking remember Squirt Man?
No, I didn't, because I wrote these questions a month ago. I did watch the episode today, but...
Stinky Pete.
No.
Charlie Throttle.
Wow. How about before you keep making up shit, why don't you actually try? Why don't you actually give a fuck and actually try, you piece of shit?
This is me trying.
No.
Groper. Sir
Think about
William
some race-based humor.
Squint Man.
I'd like our bookkeeper to cut Squint Man. I mean, we say some fucked up shit, but I think that one specifically might get us kicked off YouTube. You're not allowed to be racist anymore with the woke mind virus. You can't be racist anymore. They're taking all the fun stuff away from us white men, aren't they, Steven?
Yeah, they are. Black guy.
I'm just gonna. Don't guess
Tony.
anymore. Stop
Black
guessing.
Marshall.
No, stop talking. We've got Scotty. We've got Schultzy. We've got Porcupine. We've got White Guillermo. We've got Mexican William, and we've got the iconic, that can't be forgotten,
Squirt Man.
Yes, Squirt Man. There you go.
Ooh, yeah. Mix
Even
that.
when you were answering the question, you didn't say the
Squirt
one.
Man first. Because I said you didn't remember Squirt Man.
Bookkeeper. Roll the tape, okay.
You struck squint, not squirt. Yeah, I did not remember all those, but that was a fun.
You remembered none of them.
Fun scene. What happens if Daddy no golfy?
Daddy gets angry or cranky. Daddy gets cranky.
Daddy get cranky.
What does Jason need for a Jacksonville carnival?
Oh, this is one of my questions. I'm looking up, so you know I'm not looking at my phone.
I know you've got them written on a Post-it on your ceiling.
You know my prep work. A bunch of, I don't remember if he just says one, but he needs bounce houses, ninja stars,
and what's going to happen with that?
And a whole lot of ambulances.
Yes, good job.
That was good. That was a fun line. I like that. What makes Michael's headaches go away?
Saying Jason 5 times?
Yes.
Okay, what's the first chocolate?
Yes.
What's the first chocolate?
Gross.
What's the first chocolate? Gross, yes.
Gross is what the first chocolate is.
The first one was gross.
Students sometimes like give me like a Christmas gift, and a lot of times because it's like, I don't know, a interesting relationship with your dance instructor, they don't like give me all the time, like they're not going to give me like a teddy bear with like a cock sewn into it or something. So
which is what every boy wants for Christmas.
That's what every boy wants for Christmas. But sometimes they give me like chocolates.
Wait, the cock sewed into it? Is it like,
it's inside. It's
you rip it open and you're like, oh, this was a dildo the whole time.
The whole time.
The real present was the dildo.
You gotta bang the bear to find out.
It's like one of those dog toys that like the dog rips the shit out of it and then there's a treat in the middle of it.
Yeah.
That's the Steven equivalent of that. Instead of like a peanut butter orb in the middle, it's a hard dildo.
It's a hard one.
Molded directly after my own.
It's gotta be.
That's why it's so hard to find in there. You really gotta search.
But sometimes they give me chocolates, and there are some gross chocolates. They just have weird shit inside of them. Yeah.
What's the gross chocolate? Like if you have a Whitman sampler in front of you, you just blindly grab, you take a bite. What's the worst thing that could be inside of that?
I'm not a huge caramel guy. So if it's
because of how like hard and chewy it is,
yeah, and it just like fucks up every other piece of chocolate I eat afterwards.
Neither of us are patient enough men to just like keep the caramel chocolate in your mouth and let it dissolve, which must be nice because you turn it into a treat for a long time. I feel like people that really love it, that's what they do.
Like the frozen dog treat thing. How much? Ooh, you gotta do math for this one. How much did their chance of success fall with Eleanor in charge?
Did it fall to like 9 point something %?
No.
Okay. Did it fall to like 11 point something %?
No, you're too high all the way around.
7 point something %.
It did fall to that, yes.
7.3.
I'm going to repeat the question. How much did their chance of success fall?
So I need to do the difference. Fuck.
Yes.
I should have brought out my whiteboard. What's the smart...
Which means you have to get three
Superboard.
things correct.
Superboard. Do the math for me. 2.3.
No, you're very close in the grand scheme of numbers.
Thanks. In the grand scheme of numbers. What is it?
It fell from a 9% to a 7.1, giving us a 1.9% success.
Fuck you.
Differential.
My last question for you is, what was Tahani's breakup routine?
Ooh, she would listen to Alanis Morissette at her friend Adele's house while drinking champagne?
Yes.
Heyo. Let's see. What?
Fire 'em off.
On Eleanor is world class.
Ash?
Ash? I see where your head's at there. We're
No.
looking for her bullshit detector. Different scene.
Oh, yes. Okay.
What did Chidi give up?
What?
What did Chidi give up?
I don't know.
He gave up Dead Ash!
Oh, no!
Who has great writings on simulated realities?
Jesus Christ, Steven. 8 was enough. I don't know.
We were looking for the dynamic trio of Descartes, Moravec, and Zhuang Zhuo.
Is that Chidi talking to Simone? I'll be honest. There are
that's
seconds
him talking to Eleanor.
There are seconds of at least the Chidi and Simone scene where I just kind of went comatose while they were talking about philosophy.
How far did Eleanor make it into her juice cleanse? This is kind of a throwaway line.
2 hours?
You're really close.
3
You
hours.
made it 3 hours, yeah.
Into a 2-week juice cleanse.
And then my last question, Zach, this one does have a right answer. Would you
Don't they all?
rather bang a hot blonde Wile E. Coyote or an absolutely fucking shredded Roadrunner?
Hot blonde Wile E. Coyote.
Yeah, easy choice, right? Roadrunner's not a very generous lover. Wile E. Coyote will take the time.
Yeah.
Blonde or not.
That's your questions?
Yeah.
Okay, well then now we can talk about the episode.
I like Wile E. Coyote's slender build. I feel like he's kind of a stringy guy.
Yeah, I like a little hair. I'm not afraid of a little hair. I like someone who might be
fur, not
plotting to
feathers.
murder me cartoonishly during. That's great.
Mm-hmm. He's a hungry boy.
I really like this episode of The Good Place. I think it works pretty well as a standalone episode, and I think it manages to do a lot of great things in it while finding like the time to do all of these things. I really like how the first part of the episode gives us the Brent story and we move the new experiment forward. I really like how the episode takes a lot of time for Michael and Eleanor to have a conversation about what's going on with the main core crew dynamics that are separate from the new experiment. I really like that. And then I love how the episode has time to give us the Chidi and Simone plotline at the end of the episode. I think there's 2 episodes worth of material in this part 2 episode, which I think makes it sing a lot more than the first part did, which was perfectly fine on its own.
Absolutely. I agree wholeheartedly. I think that we talked a month ago about why they made this a 2-parter and that maybe they didn't really need to. But I think part of the reason they did is so that they can set up everything that we get resolved in this episode. You know, we get the Janet Jason, we get the Simone Chidi, we get the Eleanor Michael, we get the Brent being a douche still. The only person we really don't get anything for is John, but I think that's why they introduced him at the end of last season. Was so that we could take these really 3 episodes to set up what this next chunk of the season is going to be. And I think that it's really well done, and it really is really presented in a, like you said, a well-paced, and everyone gets their kind of fair time.
It really is well-paced. Nothing feels rushed, and some things feel given more time to breathe. Like, the highlight for me in this entire episode is that scene between Michael and Eleanor that just, the first time I watched this episode for this a month ago, I just had that realization of, wow, you fucking put Kristen Bell and Ted Danson on a couch together and let them talk for a whole act of an episode. Yeah. And it's going to be great every time, whether it's Eleanor getting all her memories back last season or this episode where Michael gives her yet another pep talk. They've done this scene so many times and it still manages to be impactful every single time. I really love their performances in this episode. And Kristen Bell in these first 2 episodes is giving such a wonderful performance, and they're finding a deeper layer to this Eleanor character in the final season of the show, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, super kick-ass.
Kick-ass. The episode starts off with the gang discussing what the bad place just did. They're in Mindy's house talking about how they brought a demon in last week for part 1 and how tricky that was. So Michael tosses the Linda picture off of the board, and we're going to put Chidi, who's now the 4th human, on the good side because we know a ton about him. I love that Chidi's photo in the 4 photos, it's like him mid-sentence, his mouth is open, like he's in the middle of saying something. And I think that's really funny that it's a not very flattering picture of him. So good news,
it really
right?
is, because they could pick any picture theoretically.
They just were like, hey, what's Chidi doing right now? Snapshot it. Here's the picture. They ask Eleanor, isn't this good news? You know, we've got Chidi so figured out. And Eleanor at this point says, yeah, even though, you know, she has to surveil her ex and not in the usual way that she used to when she was alive, that part's going to be tough for her. So in the meantime, she wants to focus on figuring out Brent, who was born on third base and thinks he invented baseball. The third base thing. I don't know. Do you think like there's some like sexual ploy to the born on third base? Because
that's
he came out of a vagina, which is third base, right?
Maybe.
Vagina's third base, right?
Yeah.
Or is belly button?
Depends on who you ask. I'm a belly button boy myself, but yeah, I don't know. That's one of the 2 lines in this episode I can do without.
Is the other one? You'll mention it when we get to it, I'm sure.
Later. Mm-hmm.
I really like. And when this episode first came out in 2019, I don't think I or the world as a whole was quite ready to laugh at guys like Brent yet, because we were in the throes of Donald Trump actually being about to be our president. Yes. So I love the lines now, watching it a few years later when Eleanor's like, oh, these guys, they think the world revolves around them, which it kind of does, because it kind of does. And now in 2024, I almost said 2023. Now in 2024, this rings true, because at the time it did, and it was hard to laugh at that. And now it's a little bit easier to laugh at it as Trump is, being barred from ballots in different states, right?
Different states, which is very funny.
We're ready to laugh at guys like Brent again.
Mm-hmm. Brent would definitely live in a Mojo Dojo Casa House.
Casa House? Totally.
Mm-hmm.
So they've decided that what they need to do to help move the dial with Brent is to get him to listen to someone else, to hear someone else's story so he can second guess himself and realize that his story is nothing compared to all of the great people around him. And Eleanor says, also, bonus, maybe he cries like a stupid little baby. And that's what cuts to the theme song. He doesn't cry like a stupid little baby. That would have been nice to see.
Yeah, I like that, I think it's telling that Eleanor's trying stuff throughout this episode on Brent that they did to her. That were specifically to torture her. And she sees, I think a worse reflection of how she used to be in him. And I think there are a lot of parallels that get drawn between the two of them.
But it is clear that Brent is the one that's here to torture Eleanor, because he is the worst in a different way, but just like Eleanor was the worst when we first met. One of the big things in this episode is this like late night talk show style interview thing that Eleanor has, and it's a set, and it's called That Was Your Life. The That Was Your Life logo like features really prominently in the branding for season 4, even though it's only in this episode as far as I know. Yeah, I think the DVD cover has the sign, the That Was Your Life sign on it.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's this like late night talk show, and I love both how in this moment we see it being filmed in like the orientation stage and people watching it. Not filmed, I guess, but you know what I'm saying, this talk show style. And then later on in the episode, I love how we get the demolished set as like a backdrop for part of the episode. So we're on the set of That Was Your Life. We meet Wanda. She's in the middle of talking. That's why there are still ducks. I saved all the ducks. And from her, we move on to Chidi in this scene, who he's so cute in this episode. The way he keeps turning to her and being like, all the ducks? He like starts talking like, yeah, I did this. I did some good stuff. But wait, every single duck? And he's like, yeah. And you know what? I don't really like to brag, but also horses.
I fucking love that.
Because Chidi's a good guy, this makes him feel inadequate. Meanwhile, Brent, who is supposed to feel inadequate because of all of this, just like checks his watch, waits for his turn. We cut away for a second for Jason, who's asking Michael a question as Michael's watching what's going on stage. He's trying to brainstorm how he can be a better partner for Janet. We know where this is going. It's sad. It is. We see this in real life. People that know their relationship is about to end can't admit it, don't want it to end. So they're really scrambling to make a last second push to turn this thing around. Have you been in that situation before where you felt the end was coming and you're trying to make up for it?
I've been on the Janet end of it. I don't know if I've been all the way on the Jason end.
I think you have a little bit. This can be, I feel like with because I watched it happen, I feel like with the person you dated that was significantly older than you. I remember the period of time after that where you were like, I'm still trying to get in there. I know like now it's years apart.
No, I guess that, because I was trying to remember how that all ended, but I guess, I was still on the, we can do it.
But I think we were more the people that like simped really hard after the breakup and that unattainable, let's make it happen. Yeah. You feel for Jason. You know what Janet's going through. You know why she ends up doing what she does. But Jason loves her, and he's so sweet, and he's so brainless when it comes to some of his problems. So he's asking Michael for help. He's trying to be better, and he's trying to be low-key, make Janet feel better. And his first idea is to create total unpredictable chaos with 100 Janet babies in a flash mob. Great idea, right?
Jason. Sorry, I put a little cheat code in the neighborhood where if I say your name 5 times, my headache goes away.
And Jason is so funny when he reacts to things. He just goes, to the 5 Jasons. Like, yeah. He tells Jason, Michael has a lot of great lines in this episode, reframing how he tortured the 4 humans and how it comments on what they're going through right now. He says, do you know why I had you as a monk originally? It's not because, he asked, is it because of Monk the TV show? No, not Tony Shalhoub related. It's because Jason has no impulse control, and he will go to the shiny thing. He will tell the secret. He can't help but do it. So Michael thought making him silent would both torture him and maybe keep his mouth shut a little bit longer than it would have otherwise. And then Michael smartly gives him the advice to give Janet a little space.
Which is great advice from Michael. If this were like 3 days ago, I think it would have helped quite a bit.
So you're saying wanting to do something isn't a good reason to immediately do it? Man, I wish someone had taught me this on Earth.
People try. Mostly judges.
Mostly judges.
Tahani steps in to let them know it's showtime. It's time for Brent to have the spotlight, and Michael can't miss this. The spotlight is on Brent. He's talking to Eleanor about his life, how he grew up in Chicago, suburb, obviously.
Obviously.
And that, you know, he worked hard in life. He earned his spot in Princeton like his father and his father's father. That's such a funny line that if you are someone like Brent watching this show, you wouldn't quite get that that's a total own on someone.
Exactly.
You'd be like, well, yeah, me too. I worked hard for the spot that my father earned for me in the library named after him. And then he worked hard, right? He inherited the family business and over 18 years grew from a $91 billion company to a $94 million company.
It's really funny.
He's getting thirsty talking about how great he is. So Janet, hey, Perrier. And she awkwardly pops up and hands him over one.
I feel like they cut to Chidi's face there, and his like reaction is just so surprised and shocked.
Eleanor's trying to turn this around and asks him a time when things didn't come easily for him, and his only thought, the only regret he has, is that he didn't sell his Netflix stock that he got really cheap before he died, because now all of that money has to go to his dumb kid. Which I kind of relate to a little bit. If I died and I knew I had millions that I could have had in life, I'd be glad it went to my kid, but I would have been more glad if I got to enjoy the fruit of my labor. Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck that kid. He can get his own millions.
He starts trying to give like a TED talk and says, in the words of Martin Luther King Jr., who I think is a great guy, by the way, let the record show. When life knocks you on your butt, you jump back up and start throwing haymakers. No, I don't think
Do you know what a haymaker is?
No clue. Is it another sports thing?
Yeah, a haymaker is like a baseball? Really, really like hard. No, it's a punch. It's like when you like just take a big swing and you're putting everything into it.
I don't think he said that. No, he did. You're wrong.
He did. You're wrong. Oh.
He's learned throughout his life to be all about taking personal responsibility. I think Brent's really funny. I get kind of like a character like the Adam Scott character Trevor, why people might hate him, but I kind of find him funny anyway. I'm able to laugh at Brent.
Brent is funnier to me than Trevor is. And I think Trevor's funny.
I might agree.
But I like watching Brent more because it's so clearly like he thinks he's good. And that's what makes it's almost
but he's so clearly
painful
bad
to laugh at. Yeah, but
that's why I'm saying in 2019, it was a little too soon.
Yeah.
But now in 2024, it's really easy to laugh at these people. Everything like post January 6th, all of these people just became hilarious to me again. Yeah. The Trevor thing, though, that sticks with me, there's a line that Trevor says that I think about all the time. When I'm eating food, I think of Trevor saying, that's going to make a primo dump later all the time. Brent has learned to be all about taking personal responsibility and has a really funny line that Eleanor follows up with a really funny line. Not enough people do that. And if you ask me, that's what's wrong with this country. What country? He's dead in the afterlife, still like complaining about American politics. Well, anyway, he's got to run. He's got a tea time. Daddy no golfy. Daddy get cranky. So he says goodbye to Chad and Duck Lady and then leaves to the applause of the NPC Janet Baby audience who just react the same no matter what happens. All of a sudden, a big black car, what would you call that vehicle? Is that like a...
Was it a Suburban or like an Escalade type thing?
Escalade was going to be my guess. A big black Escalade pulls up. It's like, oh, that's my ride. And Eleanor and everyone is kind of like surprised that there's a car that's there to to pick him up? Eleanor's like, he called a car?
Well, because we haven't seen a car in
Yeah.
The Good Place at all.
Yeah. That's his
Very
ride.
funny.
He can, like, he has all the time in the world, but he still wants to hire somebody to drive him from point A to point B, even when there is no point B. They've got to go back to the drawing board. Eleanor says they're going to bust him open like a piñata, but Michael points out that, we try stuff like that in the bad place. The goo doesn't taste like candy like you'd think it might. Which gives Eleanor a bad place idea, gives us what you're talking about, Eleanor recreating something that happened to her. We cue 25 or 6 to 4, and we get
Great
Brent's
use.
chaos sequence. It was a good needle drop, didn't you think?
Yeah. Love that song.
Michael at first is apprehensive. He doesn't know if this is the right move, but Eleanor says, no, we're doing this. This is the thing to do. Let's do it tomorrow. Why do you think Michael thinks it's not the best move?
I think Michael realizes that Eleanor and Brett, yes, are opposites. And so things that might have worked on Eleanor might work
That's
on
a good
Brett
point because
he's
it
a bad
doesn't
guy.
work.
But I think he knows that they're not the same. I think he knows that Brett is so delusional.
Brent, I believe.
Brent. Yeah, I keep calling him Brett.
Same asshole name.
Right? That Brent is so delusional that he's not ever going to see the wrong in what he's doing.
So Brent's chaos sequence goes forward, and it includes a Princeton mascot kaiju, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
There's
Nice use of
Perrier
kaiju.
rain over a stormy cloud. What do you say?
Nice use of kaiju.
Kaiju. It is a kaiju, right? Big monster.
Mhm.
Big costumed
Yeah.
mascot-looking monster. That's a kaiju. The Perrier rain, just one cloud on him. Oh, is that Perrier? The flying golf balls. I really love the shot. I think this is really smart. Just a little shot of Simone sipping a latte.
Yeah.
That's a great show not tell, reminding the audience that Simone thinks none of this is real, so that she thinks this is just, oh, cool, another thing my brain made up. This is so fun.
Yeah. Which of all the things that have happened is the most, oh, my brain is making this up because I'm in a state
Absolutely.
of dying thing.
Yeah, she's so self-assured by
I've never
this.
done DMT, but I'm pretty sure that you see exactly
you see
that.
the Princeton kaiju if you do
exactly.
DMT. There's also an Escalade stampede, which I thought was a good visual, just rolling all over the place.
Yeah.
So Brent runs up to address Eleanor. Eleanor thinks this is going to be his Eleanor moment, and it starts off that way. It's like they act like they don't know what it is, like Michael would, and he's
Yeah.
like, I do, I know what it is. This is the universe telling me I don't belong here. Yes, ka-ching, jackpot. I belong somewhere better. This place sucks. Obviously, there's a place better than this, and that's where I belong. I belong in the best place. And you're right. That is why Michael said maybe this won't work. They look and they stare speechless, but I think Michael had an idea that maybe this type of thing could possibly happen. Brent says that he's been feeling this way for a while. This place obviously can't be the cream of the crop.
I mean, if this is heaven, then where are my guys? Where's Scotty and Schultze and Porcupine? Where's White Guillermo? And where is Mexican William? And what about Squirt Man?
Well, he makes a good point. What about Squirtman?
That their nickname is about their race. He would be that type of guy that, like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, Kimo Sabe, nice to meet you. He complains that Janet's uptight. That she's not wearing any of the gifts that he's been getting her.
Yikes.
And they say, wait, are you making Janet make things that you then give to her as a gift? Yeah. And she's not wearing any of it. Or no, Michael says that and Eleanor says, yeah, you're doing the math right there, bud. If this is the good place, he belongs in the best place. So he wishes them luck. Figure this out, guys. I'm going to go. And he just heads off and leaves the chaos. Eleanor says, I'm going to go punch a wall with my head. I'll meet up with you later. Classic white boy angry moment.
Yeah.
Were you ever a punch a hole in the wall, white boy angry man? Have you ever punched a hole in a wall? I have. I'll admit it.
One time,
In my
and it
lesser
was
days,
not on
I did it.
purpose. Yeah.
Well, it never is on purpose. You were like, were you like emotional or mad and you hit something and it just happened to break?
Yeah.
That's what I did
But
too.
I also
it's a shameful
constantly
memory,
make
isn't
fun
it?
of white boys doing that.
I
So
know.
it's-
So
it's
doesn't
a
that
low
make it
point for
kind of
me.
one of your like darkest moments?
It is. If I
Yeah.
were gonna put top 5 lowest Steven moments, that'd be on there.
I think I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would put that on my top 5 lowest Steven moments too.
Now, was yours a by yourself wall punch, or was it an Adam Driver? Every day I wake up, I wish you were dead. Punch
it
his
was
wall.
it was closer to that, but the
Nice.
anger was directed at my own self-loathing and not at my partner.
Yeah.
This is a dark trade. Why did I ask this question?
I mean,
No,
I
did.
I asked the question because I was in the room. I was terrified. You started punching holes all around me.
I punched a hole in a house of a family member that I was staying at, and I paid to have it fixed. And
Nice.
when they came home, I did not tell them that's how it happened, but I did tell them that it happened and that I fixed it.
Yeah. I think I said I was like moving a chair and it hit it.
I think I definitely said I got out of bed to go to the bathroom and tripped and fell and like caught myself with the wall.
Nice. My raw stopping power shook the house to its foundation.
Yep. So should we watch Abominable? How many is enough? And have you ever white boy punched a hole in a wall? Let us know in the comments below.
Smack that bell to get notified.
Janet and Tahani and Jason call a little meeting with Michael at Mindy's without Eleanor because Tahani wants to talk about Eleanor. Michael says, "Guys, come on, it's okay. I know the problem. She's busy. She'll shower eventually. It's okay." Janet says, "It's not that. It's not
It's
that.
not that."
They suggest that they might need a new leader. They question Eleanor's decision-making, because she turns down the Chidi and Simone stuff. And she's not listening to anyone's suggestions. She's just going on and doing her own thing, creating the chaos sequence, even when Michael says maybe it's not the best idea. They've made just so little progress, and Eleanor's not a natural leader, so they think it's time to switch things up. Jason even says, Eleanor's dope, but she keeps screwing everything up, and that's my thing. And you wouldn't put me in charge. Michael says, yeah, Jason, you know what? That's actually a pretty good point. Michael tells them, think about what you're saying. And one of the others says change in leadership, just as Eleanor's walking in.
Tahani says that maybe they'll start thinking about a change in leadership, and Eleanor walks in and is like, oh, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's pursue it. Jason tries to cover it up. It's a very Troy trying to cover up Jeff's fight. He tries to cover it up and just says exactly what he wasn't trying to say to save it.
He's like, saved it.
Eleanor, she asks them to speak their mind, but she's doing it in that, kind of mom way of
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, tell me what you think. Tell me what you don't like about me. Yeah, do it. Fine, whatever. I don't care. And Janet says very plainly, it's not personal, but at the start of the experiment, like you called out in your trivia, they were at a 9% chance of success, and now it's 7.1%. She's pooching it.
Mm-hmm. And here's the thing. I get why they're upset because Eleanor is letting herself be kind of blinded a little bit, but also they're not doing a fucking thing other than Janet. So I kind of get Eleanor's point too, that,
they should come with ideas if they're going to bring her down. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, Eleanor's feedback here. My feedback is that you're all ungrateful ash faces who can shove your fat grumps all the way up their snort box. And then Kristen delivers this segment here when she's like,
I didn't ask for this. I'm only doing it because Michael, who is supposed to be in charge, had a nervous breakdown the second it started. But maybe you can do it better than me. Tahani can be in charge, since she's so smart. Or, better yet, Jason, maybe all of humanity can be saved with one good old-fashioned Jacksonville carnival.
I mean, we could try. All I need is a bouncy house, some ninja stars, and a bunch of ambulances.
That sounds like a fun-ass party.
I agree. I don't think the bouncy house lasts 2 minutes.
Not a chance. I think that's why it gets so rough, is because the ninja stars keep flowing, but the bouncy house is collapsed.
Is flat early.
Yeah.
I think Eleanor delivers that so well. I didn't ask any of this. Kristen Bell's finding new emotional potential in this character where I feel like she's going to a new level of conveying things in her speech in this episode. And that's the first moment of that. Good luck, fork faces, I quit. And she drops out. Cut to one of my favorite sequences in the episode. Michael steps up to Eleanor, who's sitting on a couch outside in the destroyed That Was Your Life set, to talk to Eleanor. He starts with back to work, let's get back at it. But Eleanor is serious. She's quitting. So Michael does what Michael often does and is able to deliver an excellent speech to talk Eleanor up and to get her back on the team. I like the way that he says,
I'm sorry you overheard that, and they're sorry they said it. But you don't just get to quit this, Eleanor. This is not your 7th grade band or 3 hours into a 2-week juice cleanse. A little more at stake here.
Yeah, man, that's why I'm quitting. The things that are happening here are above my pay grade. How do I get Brent to stop being such a deckhead? How do I fix Simone when she's convinced all of this is happening inside of her brain? Ooh, maybe I should drive her into the arms of my ex-boyfriend. That sounds fun. What do I do about John the Gossip King or the demon spy who punched me in the face? And how do I do it all with a pleasant smile to keep everyone's spirits up? I'm not meant for this.
She's supposed to have a pleasant smile while she does it. She's not meant for this. She's not the savior. She's
just a girl from Arizona.
Girl
Part
from
2.
Arizona, baby.
She said the thing. She said the thing. She said the thing.
She's a junk food person. She watches reality shows. She leaves H&M with more underwear on than she came in with. She's bad at taking charge of herself, and now she's in charge of everyone. One of my favorite Kristen deliveries here, as I really do think she's taking her performance to the next level, the conviction she says I cannot do this. She delivers just that line in such a true human way. It doesn't feel like acting at all. It feels like someone truly at their point of no return of like, I can't, I'm stepping away from this. This is too hard. And the way I cannot do this. I love
there's something really relatable about how hard it is when you like have tried something several times and like giving up doesn't feel as bad when it's 2 hours into a 3-week cleanse, right? Or 3 hours into a 2-week cleanse. That's because you haven't invested anything, but she's invested.
Or giving up on your New Year's resolution a week into the year.
Exactly. But when you've invested your entire afterlife into this and there's so much on the line, it's really hard to give up. And for her to say like, I can't do this. Eleanor, who's one of the most, at least out loud, confident people in the show, excluding, of course, our good friend Brent, she, for a lot of the show, was very outwardly confident. Even in this episode, Dead Ash, hot blonde Wile E. Coyote, she's very confident, but she's saying, I can't do this. I'm not enough. I'm not special.
All of us as humans are so capable of these like really weak, vulnerable, punch a hole in the wall moments. It's what makes us human. And it doesn't matter how confident you are or how self-assured you are. There is a moment when you're like, I can't do this, whether that takes you to extreme darkness or if it takes you to like quitting a job. Eleanor has this moment here, and Michael is such a good companion to be able to show her in a way that only he can why there needs to be a human touch to figuring out what to do with the afterlife.
You think you can't do this? Eleanor, you're the only one who can do this. Like it or not, the only one who can save humanity
is
A Girl from Arizona, Part 2.
But Eleanor, in this moment, she can only see herself as a bumbling, hot, blonde Wile E. Coyote. And I love Michael's delivery of, that's true. The thing about mistakes, not the sexualizing a cartoon. What humans do...
There's nothing wrong with sexualizing a cartoon.
Humans fail. All of us fail over and over and over again. And for some reason, we keep trying to do the thing. We keep Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill, and we keep trying, even though we know it's going to fall back and crush us. We keep trying. And we even know that what we're working towards isn't going to happen while we're alive. All of the political action we're trying to take, the climate action that we're trying to take, we're not going to get to live to see the fruit of some of those labors, but yet we continue to push the ball up the hill because that's what humans do, because maybe 1001 is the time that will work. So Michael leaves to let Eleanor think, because he's going to come up with his 1001st idea and hopes, I love this, I hope you join us. I hope you shower first, and then I hope you join us. This scene between the two of them, I don't think a bunch of Emmys went around for The Good Place, but Jesus Christ, is there anyone better at delivering an emotional sitcom acting moment on a traditional sitcom-ish in 2019 than Ted Danson and Kristen Bell?
Yeah.
What a power duo for a show to have, and what a great thing this episode does to slow everything down for a moment, to really get to the emotional core of what Eleanor's going through and all this craziness, and have these two friends like debate the two sides of it. I think it's just excellent.
I do too. I'm like that Eleanor gives pushback. I think one thing that this episode shows is that Eleanor has ground to stand on now. She's not this bad place person who thinks they're in the good place and is, still fixing herself. She's the one doing the fixing for other people now.
Yeah.
And she at least deserves a little bit more respect from her friends because
Totally.
she's the one who's got all this on their shoulders.
I think everyone can relate to being the one that really supports friends and not feeling like it's respected or appreciated or even noticed.
Yeah.
And then you get like shat on over different stuff. Yeah, that's what Eleanor's going through here. Eleanor does come back. She steps back into the room to a warm response and an apology from Tahani, who says, I'm sorry I questioned you. And Eleanor says, you know what? It's okay. I've been questioning myself too, which is a big thing of her to say. It's a really nice moment. I really like that. And she's back. She's got an idea for Brent. They're going to tell him he's right. I love this. The idea. Brent, he's having lobster. He's sitting down having lobster. And Michael and Eleanor, I love this idea. I love this a lot, actually. They walk up to Brent, real confidential. Hey, we got to tell you something, but it's on the down low. You're right. There is a best place. And this whole thing is a competition. And only the best people get to go to the best place. That's where Squirtman is. So if you want to get to Squirtman, you've got to be the best. You've got to be the very best.
I think it's really clever.
Eleanor refers to it as a Diamond VIP elite club of afterlife citizens. A very small group of the most moral will go.
He's like, hey, I was Diamond Elite.
Yeah. A good deeds contest. That's easy. I'm going to crush this. He promises to keep the secret. Why tip anyone off? And he makes the biggest possible deal out of picking up someone's fork. Oh, I think you dropped this. Here's your fork. Did you guys see that? Yeah, you're good. He says, do I need to write this down and keep track of it? Or are you? No, we got it, Brent. I think it works really well. We'll get back to that in a second. First, we get, this episode only has the second of Jason talking to Michael, and then it drops the bomb just as things are starting to look up for Eleanor and the gang after that dark moment. It's about to get darker for Jason.
Well, and it's kind of funny because as we've been talking through, I've kind of been waiting for this scene. I forgot how far into the episode it actually happens because it's such a scene that carries a lot of weight behind it. And they accomplish it in a short amount of actual screen time.
I think they build up to it so well. As we're talking about Jason being the guy that we've been that doesn't want the relationship end, but you know that it's coming. We haven't forgotten that this is coming, but like Jason, we've been compartmentalizing it and putting it in the back and hoping that it works itself out, but you can't hide from it. Janet pops in to talk to Jason. Jason's so happy to see her. He talks about, I wanted to get you something. I didn't know what. I got you chocolates, but since you can't taste them, I ate them, and I'm going to describe them to you. The first one was gross. It's so sweet, and it's so, oh, man, it makes you sad, because Janet interrupts that to speak her piece. Look, I'm overwhelmed. I need some space. I need more space. Jason takes one step back. Okay, here's some space. So much of us are cowards when it comes to breaking up with people, but because Janet is a Janet, she does it in the way that really we should all do it. She says, I'm sorry, we can't be together. Being with you is fun, but it's not easy. And there's more going on for me right now, and us being together might endanger that. And then Jason's little, it won't though. When she says it might endanger the experiment.
Breaks my fucking heart.
It won't though. And then met with Jason, it already has.
Yeah.
Because of what happened in part 1 with Derek. It is, and it will. So Janet says, look, we need to take a break. I think that's her only mistake. I think it's always bad when because this is a breakup.
Yeah.
So to throw in the hope, I think is a bad move. Even though they do get back together and there should be hope, the hope should come later, not during the breakup.
I've definitely been guilty of doing that.
Yes.
And I've been on the other end of saying, oh, well, why don't we just take a break and see, it's never a good idea.
Well, it's not for Janet, but I feel like for us and a lot of people, it's that insecurity of like, well, what if I end this and there's no one there for me on the other side? So I'm just going to dangle this person along.
Or I think it's because you care about the person and
no,
it
mine's
softens
just
the blow a
dangling. It's
little bit.
never caring. It's just dangle.
You're just dangling?
Just dangling.
Got to keep a worm on the hook.
Oh, and then it's funny, but there's a harder news. Janet, the whole breakup, she's looking at him in the eye. But for this, she takes a few steps away and doesn't look at him and says, okay.
Brilliant.
Also, I hate to pile on, but I feel like you have a right to know. The Jacksonville Jaguars cut Blake Bortles. he's not on the team anymore. I am genuinely sorry.
That was a hard day for all of us.
And then
I'm not
she
even a
pops
Jaguars
away,
fan.
and Jason just has to sit in this, and it's so sad. Someone who's so up and positive all the time just got like his two big loves taken away from him at the same time. I think Janet handled it the right way. Like, you shouldn't just string someone along if you know it's time for it to end, but you can't help but just feel real bad for Jason. Cut back to the good deed competition that Brent's taking place in. He's holding the door open for people. Enjoy your yogurt, he says to people as they walk into the door. Michael has a good point. He's not sure that this is going to work for Brent because his motivation is bad. He's just doing it to get something. But that's what Eleanor did, is what she says. This is how they're similar. Eleanor started as just doing good things to not be called out as a fraud, and they have to hope that Brent will switch to doing good out of habit. And Michael says, just like you. Another sweet moment between the two of them. This is a beat that I think is unnecessary.
And this is probably the same thing that I thought was the other thing I could do without.
Or at least if they were gonna do that, I don't think they needed to do this.
No,
if they were
not
going
even a
to
little
do
bit.
it, I think they could have set it up differently. Because Eleanor just out of the blue says, I just realized something. Because of your speech you gave, you didn't really have a nervous breakdown. You did it to get me to step up and take over. Michael chuckles and says, guilty.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Didn't
I
need it.
think it would have been slightly funnier, not very funny, but it would have been a little funnier if Michael was like, no, that was absolutely real.
Well,
because
and it's not like we
lying
haven't
and
seen
saying-
Michael have real meltdown and emotional breakdowns. It's not like that was something that didn't track for his character.
Yeah, I don't know why I don't know. Because what benefit, other than maybe a little bit more confidence, does Eleanor get from Michael doing this on purpose? I'd be fucking pissed.
When I watched this episode with Lil the first time, I brought up the same thing while we were watching it, where I was like, this episode was really, really good. And that beat kind of took me out of it for a second.
Yeah.
I don't think I really needed this. Lil's observation that I thought made it just a little bit better is Michael saying, guilty is bullshit.
Yes.
That he's
the
like,
point.
yeah, you're right. I totally held it together. Guilty. No, he didn't. It
That's
wasn't
the
a
point,
master
Zach.
plan.
I don't think it's supposed to make it seem like he did. He's like making very obvious
took from
faces
this
the whole
that
time.
Eleanor believes that, though.
Eleanor does, but Michael knows that that's not true.
Well, then I do think if that is the bit, that it's a weird bit that could have sang a little better if they cemented it a little more. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't like it at all. I think it would have been better if Michael just was honest and was like, yeah, no, that was real.
No, I fucked up.
Because I think I don't know. I
Because
don't.
he did. And
Because
he's
Ted
expecting
Danson's a great
honest
actor, but he's like
Yeah.
kind of making hammy faces like, you know, I don't know. I don't think it's necessary at all.
But compared to some of the episodes in season 3 where we had points like this, I don't have hardly any problems with
like
this
I said,
episode.
there's 2 lines this whole
Very small
episode
bit.
that I could
does
do
not
without, and
ruin
this
the
was
episode
the
for me at
second
all.
one.
It does kind of ruin that freak out a little, and I don't think they needed to do that. But it's such a small moment that, like, when I go back and watch that freak out again, I'll have forgotten that this happens, and then later on down the line, I'll watch this and be like, oh yeah, I don't like that. Eleanor says, you're very clever. You're clever. But I've got to move on to something. I've got an idea. This is going to hurt real bad. We've got to deal with Simone and Chidi. And she's trying to stall, and she starts talking about Emma Stone. Why does she start talking about Emma Stone?
Well, she talks about Emma Stone, I thought, a lot earlier. When in the Girl from Arizona speech, she's like, pick someone else from Arizona. Emma Stone, she's great.
I think that is this moment. I think I just didn't take as much. Because she says, what about Emma Stone? She's from there. Zombieland, La La
'cause she
Land. Why do
doesn't-
all
oh,
the
'cause
movies
she's
start
stalling.
end with land? Quit stalling. She is stalling, and she leaves. A really nice moment between Tahani and Jason. Sometimes you forget the sweet connection that these characters have that has been romantic in the
banged.
past. Tahani comes to comfort Jason. Jason says really plainly, and Janet was my whole afterlife, and I don't know how to get over her. So Tahani shares some advice in her breakup routine and how it's not going to help you, but this is what I did. I listened to Alanis with Adele, and we had champagne. Jason, though, he's not like that. His routine is drinking a ton of Mountain Dew, riding a stolen ATV through a Panda Express. But the sad thing about that joke that he points out, he can't do that or anything here without Janet, without seeing Janet, without asking her for help. It's not just like you can block your ex on Facebook and not have to see pictures of them anymore.
Your ex is Facebook.
Exactly. This scene doesn't really add up to a lot. I just think it's an important emotional scene that we see a moment of Tahani saying, look, I don't know what to tell you in a situation like this. I can't help you. But what I can give you is that you're not alone. You're with friends and we care about you and we'll get through it.
And their hug is really sweet.
And Jason says, and I didn't even get to tell you about the Blake Bortles part. This episode paces itself so well because we've still got time for one little aside yet, another storyline. Chidi's been awfully quiet this episode, and it's because we're setting up to the end of this episode where Eleanor has to put herself aside and let Chidi and Simone come together. Lil and I just started watching Barry from the beginning again. Nice. Darcy Carden is in the drama, the acting class with Barry in that show. So is the actress that plays Simone.
Really? I forgot
They're
that.
They're both in the acting class.
That's
At
awesome.
least in the first episode. Eleanor tells Chidi as they're sitting down across from each other, hey, do you remember that Simone girl? Oh, the third-eyed blind superfan who walked around cutting off people's ponytails? Yeah, I remember her. Eleanor comes to Chidi saying, you know, we need help acclimating her. We got to figure this out. And I got to tell you something. Look, you might have more luck than me because you're soulmates. And Chidi, whoa, like our souls are, mates. Eleanor explains that there's a system and that everyone has a soulmate and how he is bound to Simone's soul and how she can say that because of the system with this utmost certainty, which just blows Chidi's mind.
Yeah.
And Eleanor also confides that she hasn't told Simone this. She wasn't going to tell Chidi, but since she's struggling so much, or as Eleanor calls it, cuckoo banana pants, she thought that Chidi should know about this. It's so bittersweet. Chidi's like, oh, I have a stomachache, but like a happy one. And we don't know if we want him to have a happy stomachache about this or not.
I feel so conflicted because, like, normally if Chidi said that, I'd be like, oh, that's so sweet, yay, Chidi. But now I'm like, no, Chidi, don't feel love for anyone other than Eleanor. But also, I love Simone.
And he instantly goes down the path of, okay, well, what do I do? What do I teach her about? What do I summon? Can I summon a book from my home right here about the simulation theory? And he does the pose and nothing comes, with a great payoff in a few lines.
Yeah.
That just enough time for you to forget about it, so the joke lands.
This is incredible. I spent my whole life in pursuit of fundamental truths about the universe, but I never actually fell in love with someone.
I know.
Oh, right, of course. You know everything about me.
I do indeed.
Oh, rip it out of my chest.
She gives a pained smile. We're stuck in Eleanor's solemn feelings about this as a book comes and hits Chidi square in the head. Like hard.
So good. That's two moments that are sad that they end with something really funny. And I think that's, it's just really, really good writing. You have to be able to do that to be a really good sitcom, but they nail it twice back to back in this episode, and that's really impressive.
And really more times. I think a lot of the Michael Eleanor stuff works that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Chidi introduces himself to Simone at the yogurt shop. And mind if I sit here? Yeah, sure. Have a fake seat. Grab a fake yogurt. And this, like I said earlier, I do kind of go comatose when they start talking philosophy because they start throwing a lot of names and concepts around that I don't know. And I'm just like, yeah, okay. So Chidi tries to tell her that what she's living out is solipsism. She thinks that no matter what, she's right. And Chidi is able to tell her that, like, I know why you think that. I know that there's basis to that, but that's juvenile. Mm-hmm. And he's able to tell her in a way that Eleanor and others can't because he can tell it to her in an academic way. He's educated. I think that's exactly what Simone needed to hear, is to hear this from someone educated like Chidi. Mm-hmm. So he proves this, that things are real, or could be real, by sticking a finger in her yogurt. Very cute.
Dude!
What? It's not real. None of this matters. Leave that on your nose for the rest of time.
Fine. Point sort of taken.
You know, in the larger sense, if you go around acting like no one else matters, then you end up doing things like knocking over cakes and pushing people into pools and just generally acting like a jerk. Why not treat them better, just in case they're real? I mean, what do you have to lose by treating people with kindness and respect?
Okay.
Keep talking. Probably fake, but maybe real, philosopher man.
It's
So good.
cutting right to the heart of Simone in a way that other people can't, that only Chidi can immediately. And Eleanor, farther back, is spying on them. And she kind of smiles. She feels self-assured. The plan's working. At least that is moving forward.
Yeah.
The final scene of this really great episode is Eleanor back at the helm, back as the leader, explaining to the group that now they've officially got 3 out of 4 people on the party hat side. They're starting to figure stuff out. Is it Eleanor that says, is this what donating old bras to Goodwill feels like? Who says that? Or is that Tahani?
Eleanor says that.
Tahani is being very emotionally mature in this episode, and she is feeling for Eleanor and saying that it must be hard to lie to Chidi. And Eleanor isn't really sure if this even is a lie, because Chidi and Simone have fallen in love before, and Chidi made a huge sacrifice for them, so as hard as it is, she has to make sure that that sacrifice was worth it. Michael, who's such a good friend to Eleanor this whole episode, says, well, in a way, your sacrifice is bigger because Chidi's not aware of the sacrifice that he made, even though making the decision is a bigger sacrifice at the end of last season, but living out this life is nothing because he doesn't know any better. Eleanor has to be the one to watch this every day and live in the decision that Chidi made every single day, and that's really hard. I don't love that this episode, that has a lot of emotionally resonant stuff, ends with just a joke. After Michael makes that comment, Eleanor says, but we all know what he gave up. Dad Ash. Up for a high five to Jason, who is too sad to high five. Come on, don't leave me hanging. That is the code, and they high five. I pretty much feel like every episode of The Good Place should end with some kind of, well, but not all is okay because this next thing is going to happen,
Yeah, give
and
us
I could have
3
used
seconds
a hint,
of
something.
John doing something or being rude or gossipy or I don't know.
But it's a really, really good episode, and I think these 2 episodes kick off the season in a way that both gets us really interested and involved in the new experiment and shows us that focusing on that does not take any of the spotlight away from our 4 main humans and what they're going through in midst of all of this. I think it's a really great episode. I think the second half of the season premiere really sings, and it was a good episode to come back to after not doing one for a month.
Yeah, it was. I think this is a really good episode of the show, and it still doesn't feel like the last season to me yet. Like, it doesn't feel like the show is ending, which I'm glad about. I don't always love when the last season feels like the last season, and right now it doesn't. So I'm excited to see where these next few episodes go, kind of remembering where we end up. I don't necessarily remember all of the steps that get us there, so I'm excited.
Any other thoughts on this episode before we move into our last segment?
My only 2 gripes were the Born on
Those
Third
2
Base and the Michael thing. Everything else I think is really good. I think this is
really
a really good
small
episode.
moments.
Yeah, great pacing, really impressive. Because I think one of our only complaints sometimes that they didn't have time for everything, but they had more than enough somehow to get all the stuff they did.
Doesn't it feel like there's like space to move around a little bit in this episode? It has
nice.
So much going on. It is nice. And it still feels like one episode instead of half of an episode. It's really successful. It's really good.
Impressive. Great writing, great storyboarding from the team here.
A great way to get back to the weekly grind of going through all the episodes of The Good Place. I'm really excited to be back at it. And next week, of course, we're going to be back with Season 4, Episode 3, Chillaxing, which I don't remember what happens next. I don't. I'm excited to revisit these episodes again. But before we totally close the book on A Girl from Arizona Part 2, let's do our Good Place, Bad Place.
Let's do it. First one of 2024.
Yes, starting with the Bad Place, which I think is going to go to Brent, just because I don't have any other thoughts. Like, people have complex decisions to make, but even Eleanor quitting, you get why. The gang calling her out for not being a good leader.
It.
Even though they don't come with good opinions of change, I get why they're like saying something about it. So I think I have to give it to Brent because everything he does is horrible. Even when he's being good, he's horrible. Bad. He's hilarious, but bad. So it's Brent.
Yeah. Honorable mention to the Jacksonville Jaguars because Blake Bortles took you to the AFC Championship game and you haven't been back since. All I'm going to say. But yeah, bad place to Brent. He's not a great person at this point. So,
yeah, It kind of feels a little cheaty, like cheaty. It feels like a cheat
Chad.
in the same way that we don't want to give it to bad place people. But technically, Brent is a human, not a bad place person.
He's not a bad
so
place
he's just
person.
as valid as anybody else is for the good place, bad place. But what about the good place? Who
I
goes
have
to the
I
good
have
place
a pretty
this week?
concrete answer.
I think I do too. I'd like to hear yours first while I submit mine.
I gave it to Eleanor this week. I think that Eleanor, even though she kind of gives up on herself, she steps up and has stepped up since the beginning. And I think that her being able to put her own pride aside, which is her biggest issue, is her pride, to step aside and say, okay, for the good of humanity, I have to put Chidi and Simone together because I know that that's the only way this is going to work out. And I think that that took a lot from her. I think even being able to go back and face the group and stand up to them and say, hey, yeah, maybe I'm not doing a perfect job. I didn't ask for this, but I'm the one who stepped up. I think that takes a lot. And I think that that's why I gave it to her this week. I think you have an argument for maybe Michael, maybe even... I mean, Chidi has a sweet week too, but I think, you know, Michael and Eleanor both have really good weeks.
I will give an honorable mention to Eleanor, and I want to give a little honorable mention side action to Tahani, who only has a little bit of screen time in this episode, but is so emotionally mature and there for her friends, other than when she's calling out Eleanor, but she's so nice and understanding to Jason, and then to Eleanor at the end of the episode. So I do want to give honorable mention to Tahani, but I am going to go with Michael this episode, because I think we're back to this fully realized best evolution version of Michael. The way Ted Danson delivers all of his speeches and the way that Michael is able to get to the human core of all of this, he's grown and changed so much. And I don't think Eleanor has the moments and the realizations she has in this episode without the guiding voice of Michael on the broken set of This Was Your Life. I think Michael does get a slight edge for my good place this week.
Well, you know I love a slight edge, Zach.
Well, that's the podcast for this week. We've done it.
We did it.
We're going to close the book on A Girl from Arizona. And don't worry, we're not going away for a month again. We will be back next week to talk about chillaxing.
Yeah, don't worry, Barbie. I'm not the Blues Brothers.
But if you can't wait until then, there's plenty more Zach and Steven over at patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast. Listen to our That 70s Show Rewatch The Basement. It's a really fun, good time. If you think this show's like funny and loose as far as rewatch podcasts go, you should check out The Basement. It's a whole other thing. If you didn't listen to our Christmas special, you can get a little free taste of The Basement. So patreon.com/can'tdisappointpodcast, starting at $5 a month. The new year is a great time to support your favorite, or maybe like in the list of your top 50 favorite small content creators.
Hope so.
Steven, where else can the people find us?
You know, if you really want to daddy golfy with our tea time third base, come on over and follow us on Twitter and Instagram over at Time Knife Pod, where you can get all up to the minute details. We'll tell you what episode we're talking about, so you can send us in questions.
Yeah, we will.
Send us stuff, tweet us, post us.
Dox us.
Dox us. Please, God, dox me. I want some friends. Show up at my door. But dox Zach first, please. He wants it more.
I have more skeletons in my closet.
Follow us. And
Yes,
also come over
please
and
do.
see search the name of the show on YouTube. See the video
my coffin
companion.
flop shirt.
He's got a coffin flop shirt. It's
I've
really
got
cool.
Gooby,
He's got a
and as
Gooby.
introduced next week. We got Bart hanging around too.
He's got a Bart. I've got a Dharma.
Well, it's been really fun to get back into this. I've missed having my 2 hours with Steven every week. This has been really nice.
It's been nice.
I love you.
I love you, buddy. Happy New Year.
No. You're saying it, but I want you to hear what I'm saying
wow.
to you. I want you to feel it. I want you to process it. Steven, look at
Okay.
me in the digital eye.
Yeah, I am.
I love you.
I love you too, buddy.
No,
Happy New
you're
Year.
fucking Steve. No, I don't believe that for a goddamn second.
Okay,
I want to hear a little
let me try it
passion.
again. I love you. Happy New Year. I love you. Happy
Now-
New Year.
Now say it and add son to the end of it.
Zach, my boy, my sweet son, seed of my loins. I love you and I'm proud of you. Happy New Year, my son.
Steven, get us out of here because I got to go clean myself up.
From inside the Time Knife. Black Lives Matter.
I'm Zach,
I'm Steven.
and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for spending part of your day with us, and we hope you'll come back next week. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Yay, we did it.
Sitting cross-legged on the floor.